Islam and the West, two worlds in tension for centuries. But here's the question nobody asks honestly. Is this really about religion, or is it about something else entirely? Let me give you the honest analysis that most people are simply too afraid to give. First, the history. For most of Islamic history, the relationship between the Islamic world and Europe was not one of conflict. It was one of trade, of exchange, of mutual learning and genuine benefit. Muslim Spain, Al Andalus, was one of the most sophisticated civilizations in medieval Europe. Christians, Jews, Muslims, living and working together, sharing knowledge, sharing culture, building something genuinely remarkable together over many long centuries. The conflict came later, and it came from politics, not from faith. The Crusades were launched by European powers seeking land and resources dressed in religious language. The colonization of Muslim lands in the 19th and 20th centuries was about oil, trade routes, strategic control, not about Christianity versus Islam. The borders drawn across the Middle East that still cause devastating conflict today were drawn by European colonial powers who had never set foot in those lands and cared nothing about the people living there. Without understanding that history, you cannot understand the tension of today. Without that context, nothing makes any sense. Now, the modern misunderstanding. The West looks at the Muslim world and sees violence, oppression, backwardness. But here is what they are actually seeing: countries that were colonized for centuries, whose institutions were deliberately destroyed, whose leaders were installed by foreign powers when it served their interests, whose resources were extracted for generations without fair compensation, and then told, why can't you be like us? The Muslim world looks at the West and sees double standards, a world that calls itself a defender of human rights while supporting dictators in Muslim countries when it conveniently serves their interests. They see their faith reduced to terrorism on the news, their women reduced to victims who need saving by outsiders who know nothing about them. Neither side is seeing the full picture. And here is the truth both sides consistently miss. The average Muslim wants the same things as the average Westerner: safety, dignity, opportunity, a good life for their children, freedom to practice their faith without judgment. The conflict is not between Islam and the West. It is between those in power on both sides who benefit from keeping people divided and afraid. The people on both sides have far more in common than their leaders will ever admit. Like, if this gave you a new perspective, share with someone on either side of this divide. Subscribe, Truth Every Day. I'm Nour. This is Islam with Nour. Thank you for listening.